Lead.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Doug Show Live. This is one of our live streams. And like the last few weeks, I've been inviting some guests. So we have Alex Drew from Odys Global, who, if you watch these, which I assume you do watch them fairly often, you know of Odys Global. So let us know in the chat if you can hear me. I think it's working okay, but it's always good to double check that kind of stuff. And we'll get into it. Today, we're going to be talking about the state of SEO, marketing, domaining, and really wherever the conversation leads us. So, Alex, thanks for joining me today. How's it going?
Thanks for having me, Doug. Awesome. Big fan of the Doug Show. This is the first time we're doing the live stream. Yeah, awesome thing you have going on here. Honored to be on the show.
Thanks. Yeah, it's like once I did, well, at this point, like several hundred of these live streams, I thought, well, it's easier to ask a guest to be on. It just took me a few years to figure it out. It's fun to have some back and forth. So, yeah, I'm trying to integrate it a little bit more. And I'm glad to have you on as one of the first guests here. So, for the people that don't know you, let's get a little bit of a background. You can kind of give a large swath. And one of the reasons why I invited you to talk about this particular topic is you have a little spoiler alert. You've been in the industry for quite a while and you've seen so many changes, really a dinosaur in the internet marketing industry. So you've had to weather and pivot and figure out what to do as things have changed. Companies have grown. There's been like it seemed like a marketing method that would never end. And then it doesn't work so well anymore. So that's one of the reasons why I invited you on. So with that said, tell us about yourself just a little bit and what you've been doing for the last few years.
All right, so I'm mostly known for founding and running Odys Global as an age domain marketplace, and basically the place that transitioned from a basic way to sell domains through a spreadsheet, like it used to be very popular back in the days, even with age domain, to a full blown business around the entire concept of selling age domains with the purpose of helping any online business grow. And the funny thing is, you mentioned what happened, the state of the industry throughout the last 5 to 10 years, even more, is it's incredible how 10 years ago you see people with a black hat, gray hat mentality using age domains, and these days you have textiles businesses that make $20-50 million a year from United States, sending their marketing teams to us to buy age domains and funnel their growth. So and help with their growth. So it's absolutely incredible how big the industry has grown, and not just age domains, the overall awareness of SEO. And this is very inspiring for me because it just shows that the potential is still here. And I see a more educated SEO, as we ended up discussing before the live stream. I'd coin it the term as more educated SEO these days. For me, like I've a niche website builder at heart. I've started actively building niche sites in around 2005. If some of your viewers remember, there were 3 guys that tremendously influenced me back in the days. Like those are the days that very few remember. There was this guy, the Canadian guy. He didn't even reveal his real name. His name was Grizzly Bears. Like he referred to himself as Grizzly Bears, and he used to run makemoney.blogspot.com, and he only had this blogspot web subdomain, and he used to dominate Google for all make money online keywords. Like he was number 1 for absolutely everything. And that was because I've started, like most people, I've been searching like how to make money online, ways to make money online, how to make how to own a website, how to make money with a website. And I've stumbled upon his blog, and I've been waiting for his blog posts, like that there was tremendous value. Then there were 2 more guys. The one was Courtney Tuttle from US, and that was the person who used to own CourtneyTuttle.com, and he used to rank number 1 for internet marketing. If any one of you go to archive.org and search for Courtney Tuttle, like he used to have the blog that was ranking number 1. And the third big inspiration for me, and these are like the giants that I learned from back in the days, and they had very plain and simple SEO, yet they dominated, Google for for all terms was Victor Francois, I'd say, and he's now a car salesman. Like he completely gave up on SEO. But the funny thing is, back in the day, he used to dominate all blogging related keywords, and he used to own bloggerunleashed.com. Like it's all documented historically in archive.org, and even the Make Money Online, Blogspot, and Courtney Tottle's domain and Blogger Unleashed, and like these were the guys that used to. I remember Victor Francois. He used to own like thousands of eBay affiliate stores back in the days, and he used to make like $50,000, $100,000 a month from those 3 pages eBay stores. So those were the times, and that was the state in the industry. And
Wow.
very few brick and mortar businesses knew, what is the potential of SEO and organic traffic. These days, you have, a $50 million a year textile business buying domains from Odys in order to,
Right.
grow their website. So this is somehow the dinosaur aspect of me that you've mentioned at the beginning of the conversation.
That is amazing. And I think there's a couple people that I've talked to that have been around for this long as you, Alex, doing this stuff. And it's just rare. I think there's only one or two other people that started blogs and, vastly different, kind of industries and stuff. But I haven't even heard of the people that you mentioned, which is crazy. Now
Yeah.
I'm curious because, I came up probably in about 10 years ago. So 2013 is when I first discovered like the Make Money Online space. And by then, there's a couple life cycles like already going through where people, they blog, they do stuff. And I have an idea in my head, but I'm curious. So you mentioned a couple people that were making a huge amount of money. They were pioneers in the industry, and now they're doing something else. What's your insight for why people like switch and do something completely different when it sounds like they were some of the most successful people at the time?
Well, I really like this saying when you plan for things and then life happens. So all sorts of life-changing events. Then making money is one thing. I know a lot of people who made a lot of money, but very few kept all the money. So so making money is one thing. Managing money is a completely different ballgame. So there are lots of people who've lost all the money they made. Then there are other people who simply had some life-changing events. As for the first one, the guy that, and he had this story behind him that he's somewhere in the woods in Canada and he has this laptop and he only types with his two fingers and he writes all the blog content himself. And I believe he simply retired because he was back in 2005 2006 when he was actively blogging. I think he was like close to 60 years old, and I think he like one of his last blog post, and he simply disappeared like Batman. He simply, and his last blog was like, I'm retired, like I'm happy with what I made, the people I've influenced, and that's it, I'm retired. Victor Francois, that used to operate Blogger Unleashed, I think there was some kind of drama involved because he used to have like the affiliate academy, one of the first affiliate academies in the industry, and I think there was some scandal, some drama involved with a couple of his students, them getting banned by eBay affiliate network. That was before Amazon affiliate network got popular. You had eBay affiliate network, and I believe that was related to some of the practices that he recommended in his course. So he shut down everything and went into car sales because he was a car salesman at heart. For the other people, I don't know. I think life-changing events, who knows? But at
Sure.
some point, if you stop podcasting, if you stop being here, in time, people will forget you. That's why it's important to just, as any business, it's important to run the business and to reinvent the business as you progress.
Got it. So there's some folks in the live audience, so appreciate Ollie, and I don't know how to pronounce it looks Cyrillic, so I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But thank you for joining in here. We'll answer some questions if you have them. We'll kind of go back and forth. And one observation that I have to the question that I asked you is, yeah, people, I think sometimes they burn out or there's some precipitating event where they're like, I'm heading out of here. Like this is, it's a good time for change or something like that. And everyone's continually evolving. And I find it interesting because I'm in this financial independence space as well. So I'm meeting people that have blogged for 15, even 20 years. So that's one of the people. And they have all this content out there where, millions of people followed them from 15 years ago, and they were a certain person then, and they've evolved probably 3 or 4 times since then. And they're a little bit different now. So they're actually like, when they are authentic and they like share their new self, sometimes people from the past, they judge them and they're like, hey, I got new information, or I'm a new person, or this experience happened. And then they have some resistance from their audience, which is pretty interesting. And it makes me think of, there's a few people, but Dave Chappelle came to mind. Do you know Dave Chappelle, the comedian, right?
No. Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. So he had this show on Comedy Central like 25 years ago, and, top of the profession. And apparently, he's talked about it now through his Netflix specials, but he's one of the best stand up comedians in the world, like really well renowned and has a lot of peer respect. But basically, I guess he got offered something like $56 million by Comedy Central to keep doing his show, but he was like
Mhm.
really handcuffed, and didn't have as many choices, and there would be a lot of suits telling him what to do. And he was like, you know what? I made a lot of money. I'm gonna tap out for a little while. And he like disappeared for like I don't know, a decade or 15 years or something. Lived in a farm in Ohio with his family, like lived small town life. And then he like came back, and now he's even bigger than he was before. And he has, so much control over anyway. So I think about that, where sometimes people are like, you know what? I made some good money, and now I just want to relax a little bit. I don't want to keep running in the hamster wheel or be um, subject to an external factor that I don't control. So I like that independence kind of idea. So no question there,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, it's okay if you don't.
Yeah, there are a couple of things that came to my mind while you were, telling this story. So, like burning out is it does happen. Also, bankruptcy happen. Like throughout, since I started, owning niche sites and online businesses, I've bankrupted at least 3 or 4 times. Like these were, times when I simply that's it. It didn't work anymore. Like I remember at some point I had an AdSense operation making me a couple $1,000s a day, a day, and that was huge. And it all ended with AdSense, simply banning my account, and that disappeared because I wanted to scale it, and that was one of the bankruptcies. So people in some of these cases, and I remember lots of people bankrupted in 2012 when the first Google Penguin update, hit everyone, and there were some people who had like enormous portfolios of niche websites, mainly powered by exact match links pointing to their pages, and that got completely obliterated and destroyed. So they bankrupted lots of them, and it takes courage and it takes will to keep moving forward and reinvent the business, reinvent yourself, and start over and start again, and start a brand, start a service, start a show. I remember, like, take Neil Patel, for instance. Like, he reinvented himself so many times with his website and service. There were guys even more famous than him back in the days, but their popularity simply, has gone down, mainly because they just slowly disappeared, or there were some life-changing events that happened to them. Some of them did make a lot of money, and they simply disappear with the money in a good way, and they just retired and lived happily, thereafter. So there are lots of, I'd say, stories behind the people who have popped up, been famous, then at some point either took a break or decided to retire. So yeah, anything can happen, really.
Right. And I'll just make one more comment on the lifestyle design, and then we could shift into marketing and SEO. Otherwise, I could talk about this stuff all day. Um, but the lifestyle design portion, like you said, maybe they make some good money. They do, walk off into the sunset, and then they spend time on their family or whatever passion they might have, and they may swing back in. I mean, when you do this kind of stuff, you end up with all these fantastic marketing skills, SEO, whether it's with Google or some other search engine that you may be operating in, whether it's Amazon or like Etsy, or, fill in the blank, wherever anyone's searching. So you end up with all these cool skills. So let's talk about the marketing portion. And one thing that I've observed with Otis specifically, and you guys weren't on my radar until maybe 3-4 years ago. I started seeing your name pop up a little bit more, and the branding was very tight. And as we've worked together in a professional relationship, I've seen, I guess, like branding rules. I don't know the right expression, but it's very tight. Can you talk about that and why you made it a priority for the company?
So there is this SEO agency that does just legal clients. I'll reveal their website. Their website is rankings.io, and they do just personal injury lawyers as clients. That's it. They've niched it down, and they're the best in their industry. So initially, like, I had this passion for domains, and then I ended up having this pretty good understanding and awareness of age domain and what makes a quality age domain. So I said, why would I position myself as someone I know it all, where in fact I know very little, and I know just about, I'm really good at this. So if you ask me, like, what is the best side of SEO that you would say you know a lot about, and I'd say, look, age domains. Like, I have success with age domains. I'd rather talk about things that I know work and I have experience with. So I've started to position it as an age domains brand, and I've niched it down. So Odys stands for basically the initials for our domains, your SEO. So I came up it was a random, it just popped up in my head. So our domains are your SEO. So I said, well, the initials kind of are pronounceable and then it makes sense. And let's start with Otis and let's see how it goes from there. And this is how it all started. And even now, when our market segmentation strategy involves going after additional and extra services like content writing, topic clusters, consulting, hosting, and lots of other services, like we could even custom design your website if you want. If that helps you get started, we will do that. Back in the days, it was all about niching down, and you can really position yourself as an authority by being, the main guy in a small pond rather than just someone in a big ocean. Like, everyone's familiar with the concept. So I thought, well, I don't intend to make millions in the first year, so I'd rather just be the best at this small segment of the domaining market than rather try to compete with the big domainers who are after these hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of big names. And, obviously their know-how is way superior. So I said, let's start with a niche down approach. Let's start with age domain, and let's position Odys as the brand for quality and premium age domain. And we somehow ended up coming with this really interesting concept where, if back in the days an age domain could be just any name as long as it had SEO power, we said, like, why not diminish on the risk? Why go after any name when you can so easily get in trouble? Why not go after just the good names? And the good names mean, short, pronounceable, brandable, whatever makes sense to build a brand on. And this is where the premium age domain concept came from, where you actually deal with a name that you can build something you're not afraid and shy of sharing. And at the same time, you are harnessing all the SEO power and the authority it has. So this is what Odys at its core was built on.
Got it. Very cool. And quick note, we're not going to go too deep into using an age domain and some of the other details. We actually have an episode of the Doug Show and over on YouTube as well, where we go very in depth. I think it's like an hour plus conversation, and that'll be coming out in a few weeks, or I don't know what the schedule is, guys, but it'll be out there. So be sure you're paying attention to the feed. Okay. So one thing that you mentioned was about, being a big fish in a smaller pond. And I don't have the, I don't have the same ambition as some of usually it's younger people, like in their 20s, are real hungry, they got a chip on their shoulder and they're like, I want to be the biggest. I want to go to a huge industry and I want to be a big fish there. And certainly, that happens. People can do that. It's totally possible. Do you have this is a tough question, Alex, but do you have any insight or maybe recommendations for people who do have the huge ambition where they're thinking, all right, I do want to be big fish, big pond. I want to make as much as possible. And there have been some folks on the show that do have that level of ambition. So, any insights from, you've studied management and building teams and all this different things and being a CEO. So, anything you can add?
In my opinion, there's a 99.9% chance if your goal is to be a big fish in a big pond from day one, you will fail. Like that's the path to failure. No one started as a big fish in a big pond. I'm reading a really good book right now called Mastery by Robert Greene. Like he's the controversial author of 48 Laws of Power, and he has some other good books. And in Mastery, he describes this pattern of really successful people. Started with, Leonardo da Vinci, and then Mozart, and then Henry Ford, and even Steve Jobs, and all of them became great by niching it down. No one, like Darwin, wasn't great at everything at a big pond. Like his father intended to make him a clerk. His father intended to make him. He found him a job with some church in Great Britain, and then this opportunity arose where the royal family invited to join them on a trip, on a ship to collect all sorts of interesting stuff, on these less explored island. And he dedicated a couple of years, like 5 years of his life, just studying and collecting all this stuff. So he niched it down really big. And then he realized, well, it apparently God didn't create life just in one single day. There was this thing called evolution. And when he came back, he dedicated 8 more years to get a degree in biology, to get some other people to trust, his findings. So it never was about becoming a big fish in a big pond. So he initially became a big fish in a very small pond. He's niched it down. No one recognized Mozart's, creations for at least 10 years. Everyone considered him a mediocre composer. And only after 10 years, when he kind of almost went crazy writing all this, down, only then he started getting recognition. So the ambition to be big fish in a big pond, it simply won't work. You have to niche it down until the tipping point where you end up knowing more than everyone else in your niche. Then you become an authority. Then people want to deal with you. Then people have reasons to invite you to your podcast, to your stream. There is an equal amount of benefit that you can deliver and they can get from you. Then you start building relationship, and only then you can diversify, I'd say, into other streams of income, partnerships, joint ventures, when you become at least someone, when you have something behind your back. When you're just starting down, it will overwhelm you. It's like chopping a big tree. You have to chop it like one chop at a time, and it takes time. It takes time to master. You have to go through this apprenticeship period, and it's usually, even in business, like it's 5 to 10 years to really build something worthwhile.
Right. And I've been thinking about, yeah, I can't agree more. And you're a better coach than I am, because usually I just think, oh, it's so hard. Everyone, it's just, everything's really difficult. It's going to take you longer than you think. You just got to
It
keep,
is hard.
I mean, really, you got to keep grinding, but I'm no cheerleader. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to want to quit. So you got to have a good reason to keep going. Sometimes it's, pure internal like stubbornness that you're not going to give up. And that could work with the sort of brute force approach. But yeah, you're going to have a roller coaster ride. And one thing I think about is just the failed projects in the past. So we like gain a little experience. Hopefully we expand our network and our community, which is maybe, I think there's books written on this where it's like your network is really like your business superpower. And over time, if you do work on projects in vastly different areas, you will have a pretty cool network of people that can, hopefully they're just friends, but they could advise you some, or you can go to each other for problems, or maybe there is a joint venture that could work out. But a lot of times, maybe it doesn't. It just happens to be someone that you could speak to in a sort of a peer advisor, mastermind type role. So, well, let's take kind of a left turn here for a minute and talk about AI. Everybody's really excited about AI in the last year. I was really pushing it away up until ChatGPT in like December of 2022. And I still resisted after a few weeks, but once I started playing around and figured out some use cases that were truly helpful for me, I thought, okay, this is turning a corner. And then I started playing with Midjourney from a image generation standpoint, and that has been excellent as well. And I know there's competitors to each of those. So Google has Bard, and I guess Bing has ChatGPT underneath. I don't know if they have a name for that, but it's all blending together. Anyway, so broad question. What are your observations, especially from, your business standpoint? Like, what do you think AI is going to do to the industry? Very broad, but I'm just going to let you talk about whatever you want, basically.
So I'll give you a real use case for AI. So we have this team, Otis India. They've been with me for the past 10 years. Great guys. I never fired anyone there. They're absolutely grinding it. So one of them is responsible for publishing new domains, newly acquired or submitted domains that pass our due diligence to the marketplace. And one of the steps is writing a description of the domain and also coming up with at least some, we used to call them monetization angles back in the days. Now it's growth opportunities. Now that's different. That's something that it's in video format. But back in the days, they had to write them themselves, and they were knowledgeable of the industries. They would use information that it's available on the public domain. So if it can't be Google, they will use it. And last year, when we initially hired Vladimir, who's now in charge of Odys Talks and the Odys podcast, like he was hired as a copywriter. So he would review what they wrote. And at some point in time, fast forward around 6 months, he says, well, I barely have anything to review. They're doing such a great job. But obviously, they're great guys, but, I'd say don't have the best English. So that's why we needed Vladimir to, overlook the content quality and whatever they wrote there. And at some point, Vladimir said, well, will I get fired? Because, obviously they're doing a great job. Their English has improved a lot. And they say, no, we have. And he had this idea with the Odys podcast and the live stream and say, let's move in that direction. I believe there's tons of value that building our own media, and it's just fun to do. And he said, yeah, that's right. And upon deeper investigation, I realized they've been actively using ChatGPT to write that content, and they got really good with that. So that was a use case that I was personally not aware of until recently. Obviously, that is not, and the insights are really great. So they would tell ChatGPT, look, suggest 3 means of building a brand on, let's say, silkwords.com, which is the former domain of a content agency, for instance. And he would come up with some really nice insights, like you could do this, you could that, you could do, and obviously, if it makes sense, you don't even have to fact check because you're not talking about specific data, like real data. So it doesn't make sense, but this solved a problem, and it solved their problem. And I believe there is huge potential. And it's definitely going to replace lots of jobs. So unless you have soft skills, communication skills, persuasion skills, selling skills, problem-solving skills, and you just used to do some basic data entry or proofreading jobs, you might be in trouble. Like there isn't. I can retell about this specific use case. It's not related to generating content for a website. It doesn't go into the public domain, yet our members find lots of value in those insights that are being, displayed on the landing pages for our domains, because it makes sense and it's done better than a human would in most cases, because it has access to all this data at a snap of a finger. So that's my opinion of AI. And I've personally kept it away, just like you do, for a very long period of time. Like I said, well, there is more, I'm more like of a human interaction guy. Like I'd like talking to a human. I don't like, AI spilling the beans for me. So I'd rather have someone say hello than, a robot basically answering, like press 1, to get this detail. So basically this is what ChatGPT is. So right. In my case, this convinced me that there is no turning back. And there are lots of people who are going to lose their jobs. And unless you can figure things out yourself, you're in trouble.
That's a cool use case. And of course, at the end of the day, you're concerned with the end product and if that description helped your members and provided good information. So it didn't really matter where it came from and you're not trying to like rank in Google, which is, one of the other big concerns where, you know, I'm part of the problem as far as clickbait headlines. It's like, oh, SEO is going to change dramatically, and I mean, SEO is always changing, but the fact that you can use it for copywriting where ranking doesn't matter and you just need it to be clean. I mean, that was a huge thing. Like you mentioned, the grammar and the word usage really so much better than it was with like a tool like Jasper, which I think has improved since the underlying software has also improved. So I I've found some good use cases, sometimes in emails, kind of similar where I don't need to rank, but usually I will, because my email list is interested in AI topics, I'll just say, hey, I asked ChatGPT about X. So I'm like disclosing, I'm not pretending like I'm writing it. And then I'll have like a series of questions. And people, I mean, I don't do it all the time. It's maybe one out of every 10 emails, but people find it really interesting, partially, hopefully, because they're seeing how I'm using ChatGPT and like the series of questions and how it progresses. But just to, you know, see what ChatGPT or Bard may respond back to. So yeah, it's been super interesting. Now, has your team or you played with a Midjourney or other image generation software AI?
No, but I've kind of delegated them. Look into Midjourney as a means to replace the way we currently do logos for our domains, because the entire concept of having an actual landing page and an actual presentation for domain is different from the entry in a spreadsheet. When you look at the domain and you not only see the domain but the actual description and the backlinks and even the logo, you're able to envision the future project. You're able to envision the future website where that logo is in the top left corner of your screen and you have all this blog content. It somehow relates. And if you can sell that vision, it actually helps the future website owner get started faster. And we've been trying to look into Midjourney as a means to generate logos. Initially, the results aren't that great, I'd say, but it may take a while. So we still have an in-house designer, a graphic designer who does the logos. And right now it's easier. It's easier for us to work with an actual person who understands what we need rather than have someone and ask Midjourney, to create this image.
Sure. And yeah, I think one funny thing for people that haven't played with Midjourney or similar tools, text is really hard. Like even if you tell it, put these letters in the image, it will fuck it up somehow. Like it's kind of
Yeah.
amazing how bad it is with that. And with logos, I think, and I haven't done this, but I think it would be one of those deals where it would be faster with an actual professional graphic designer or someone who's like savvy with Canva at least, because you would have to iterate like, I don't know, 100 times and get like 100 drafts and then have to sort through them. Or you could spend the same time and like just create it yourself and probably do as good or better a job. I mean, again, it's a professional versus a machine who's trying to like guess right through 100 or dozens of iterations. So interesting. Okay. So we'll take a quick little break here and roll an ad, and it'll allow Alex and I to rest our voices a little bit. So we'll be right back
Yeah.
here.
Cheers.
To you by Odys Global, the source for premium age domains, and they'll kickstart your website. The featured domain for today is called Sherpa Ascent, and we'll kind of focus on the outdoor and adventure space. And we'll look at number one, what the site used to look like. We'll have a look at the details over at Ahrefs. Quick note: if you're not into this outdoor adventure type domain, you can hop over to Otis and you can filter. There's tons of ways you could filter. You can go by industry, various metrics, and so on, and really find exactly what you're looking for if this one doesn't fit the bill. So one thing, this domain has been around for quite a while, 24 years old. And I think when we look at some of the details, you'll see really quickly that you have a lot of opportunity for not only informational content, but product reviews. Additionally, it gives you a great way to connect with influencers, whether it's YouTube or maybe podcasters or anyone on social media, which would be a great way to get traffic outside of, the normal Google search traffic. So let's go have a look at some of the early iterations. So this is from 2003, and you can see the Flash player is not supported, but a pretty basic website. One cool thing is these folks were out of Denver for a little while, Sherpa Ascent, and they help people, essentially do outdoor adventures, sort of trekking and expeditions and such. And then later, this is from 2014, so you can see website's got a little bit more modern looking, but still fairly different than what we expect. But this was out of Boulder, which is only like 15 minutes from where I live, and pretty cool. So they're talking about basically climbing huge mountains, the Himalayas. I think there's probably some Everest type things in here too, but you can see, excuse me, totally legit kind of site, and they were doing some pretty awesome stuff. So let's hop over to Ahrefs really quickly here. We have a domain rating of 16 and a URL rating on the homepage of 11. Currently, not getting a ton of traffic. We see 532 backlinks from 96 referring domains. And if we take a deeper look over here at the specific referring domains, you'll see there are 99 total. And you see we have yellowpages.com, Untapped. We have Groupon, WikiVoyage, Superpages, 10 Best. Looks like a news site, KDVR.com, Elephant Journal, allmenus.com, Trip 101, and so on. So tons of great backlinks here and pretty amazing. So I would probably focus on some of the adventure type keywords where you can really give accounts of what it's like to hike a certain mountain, and those are things you probably would honestly have a hard time looking up. The information probably isn't readily available. This is where I think it would be cool to connect with influencers, people that are sharing their stories online in some capacity, because this can give them a different venue to share the story. Sorry about the cough here. I'm getting over a cold. The thing is, these accounts of hiking and climbing and doing these adventures, they're hard to come by. You can't make it up, because people that would actually be interested in reading that would know that it was made up. So ChatGPT won't be able to help you here, but you could connect with people that are telling their stories on, say, YouTube. They're probably not blogging that anywhere. So you could bring that account to the written word, which is pretty interesting. Here we have a couple other links to note here. So we have colorado.com, 5280, Boulder Weekly, Trip Expert, 5stars.com, and businessinsider.com. So if you want to check out this domain, head over to Otis. If you use my affiliate link, you can get $100 in your account. And if you make a purchase, I might get a commission, which I greatly appreciate. So thanks a lot to Odys Global. All right, and we are back. So we were talking AI just before we left, and then we kept talking. So we'll bring some of that conversation out to everyone else. And we don't have a ton of viewers right now, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Or if you are watching later, which most people do watch later, leave a comment and we'll check them out. I'll actually read these comments. So I'll come back and read these comments. Okay, so we're talking AI. And one thing that Alex mentioned was that it saves a huge amount of time for research. And that could be for an article or anything related to content. It could be a YouTube video, like, hey, give me the bullet points so that I can create a script, that sort of thing. What I've been using as a podcaster and interviewer is just, hey, I'm interviewing this person. I actually did this before our interview, Alex, right now. So yeah. I know some things that we could talk about, but since we're creating the content, if I just have a list of questions or topic areas, it's perfect in case we don't, like, we reach a dead end and I need to transition to something else. So I just said, hey, I'm interviewing Alex Drew. He's an expert in SEO, marketing, and domaining. What questions should we go over? Any broad talking
Yeah.
points? And I have 30 questions here. I think I haven't even asked one directly, but it's like, oh, here's some different things that we can get into. Now, one thing that you mentioned is about, having AI content written, um, or having content written by AI and then publishing it. So what's your take on that? Because some people are like, hey, I'm launching a website. I'm going to publish only AI content to see how it goes. What do you think about that?
Well, using non-fact checked and non-proofread AI content is just one of those early spun content days where you can, rank and bank, make some money, but that's it. It's basically just a means to, make some money and play the black hat, gray hat game. Because are you really building something? Are you really building like a brand? Are you building like a legitimate business? If you're just starting a website with means to, generate some affiliate commissions or, money from display ads, then that's a completely different thing. Like you could do that like as a side hobby. Maybe it's your main business, but that doesn't bring any value. And I was that person, just like thousands of other SEOs who back in the day started pretty black hat. I mean, we've used auto-generated blogs, and we used to use auto blogging scripts and plugins for WordPress and spun content, but it doesn't bring any joy. Like at the end, you're just building something that you're not enjoying yourself, and you're just spamming the web, and it doesn't bring any value. Whereas when you build like a real business, a real brand, a real show, a real podcast that you actually enjoy doing, that's completely different, and it gives a sense of purpose. Whereas if you just copy paste or have AI publish hundreds of articles to your blog, just the joy of making a little bit of money here won't solve a lot of problems, at least from a source of purpose perspective. So I wouldn't recommend copy pasting if you really want to build a successful website. A blog where you actually do not depend on Google and search engine to send you all the traffic, where you can, diversify your streams of income, your sources of traffic, get yourself that mastery level that we talked about before, where you at some point you become known, that people will recognize you, and then you have leverage, and then you have some sort of authority that you can use to further grow in your business ventures, career, or whatever. I doubt AI will help with that, at least for now. It still needs to be fact checked. Use it to your advantage. Use it to get ideas, get insights, do your research. I wouldn't copy paste it on my blog as it is. We have Odys blog, for instance, and all blog posts are written by either me, some members of my team, or people just like you whom we invited. Can you guest post? Like, you have so much knowledge into this, let's say the keyword goal formula. Why wouldn't you write an article on that? Like, our members will find that really insightful, and that will bring tremendous value. Whereas, like, I'd rather have you write that article than have ChatGPT, give me some basic outlines of what the keyword gold formula is. And
Right.
it doesn't make any sense, at least for me.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, it would mess up some of the information, because I've actually like, hey, what is the keyword golden ratio? And like, it's mostly kind of right, but then it misses the point, which is kind of,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of funny because it's pulling together information from all over and some of it's wrong. So you end up with a derivative version that is, I mean, it could pick the very best parts of each one of the input sources, but it could also pick the worst part, and you end up with like some horrible result. So you never know which one you're going to get. Very interesting. Yeah, and I think I tend to agree. I mean, it's very interesting in the short term for people to try this out. And I have heard people have great success. Like Ariel Phoenix has been on the feed here, in the chat, friend of the show, and she is publishing a pretty large amount of AI content. It's edited very well, per my understanding. And I may be mixing up a few details, but generally a lot of AI content, human edited. So you end up with, fact checked, articles with, the bad stuff removed, hopefully. But I think in the long term, yeah, people are like consumers of the content want to have like something authentic behind it generally. Maybe someday it'll shift where the AI version is like, in air quotes, like better than the authentic, real human impression of whatever it is, whether it's a, cognitive biasy like explanation or like a product review. But at this point in time, I think it's just kind of an interesting experiment. And I hope people aren't wasting their time and they'll learn something from it. But I mean, this is, like you said, whatever, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there were article spinners and there were things to automate. And it's kind of similar. Like it worked for a little while. And then, the market spoke and they wanted to see something different. With those article spinners, I used them just a little bit. It was just gibberish. It was kind of laughable how it worked, but well, it remains to be seen. So, well, let's shift a little bit to some of the SEO trends, and we've kind of been talking about it as a subtext, just with publishing AI content. But one thing in the pre-interview, you mentioned the perception of SEO, and you had a really good thesis, and I want you to talk about that a little bit, and I'll just open it up for you, and you could set the groundwork and foundation, and then make your point.
Yeah, so my point was that we have more educated SEO these days. So the overall awareness of what SEO is. If SEO back in the days was a means to make money from Google, basically, and to manipulate the search results to get traffic to site a blog, these days you have, and when I say back in the days, it's not like back in the 2003, 4, 5, when Google got really popular and everyone, well, there is so much free traffic, there wasn't ever a free anything even close to free traffic. It always involved effort and money, and also there is never such a thing as passive income. Like, this is a myth. This was always a myth as long as you kept running your website as a business, meaning you actually watched over your expenses and tried to make a profit, right? So the overall awareness of SEO evolved tremendously. As said, we have huge businesses buying age domains belonging to some of their potential competitors just because they see value in the traffic, in the links, and they just understand this is something that's worth paying attention to. If you're not doing it, someone else is. We have clients which are agencies and they do, lawyer SEO, local clients all over US, and they say all our competitors use 301 redirects to power up their clients. If we're not doing it, we're missing out. We're not getting the same results. That's it. Like, I don't care if it works. If it doesn't, we'll make it work. But I know we have to use it because everyone else does. So it's obviously a trend, right? And the trend is not based just on a temporary gimmick. It's based on the evolution, as said, of the overall understanding. And I'm really happy to have reached this period in a state of the industry where the awareness of SEO is not just some abstract free traffic that you can get from a search engine, but everyone uses the search engine to find you. And if you're not there, if you're not ranking, they won't find you and you won't get any business. So it has more clarity of the value. And these days, even SEO consultants, I think it's easier for them to close on a client and actually explains where the value is. They don't have to do it as long as they simply deliver what's expected from them. I remember back in the days, you had to write these letters to close local clients where you'd actually take a screenshot of the first position and use an arrow to show this is where your competitor is, this is where you want to get. He gets like 10 clicks a day and these clicks are worth $20 in Google AdWords, and this is how much money you're saving and this is what I can do for you. These days, it's no longer necessary. You have businesses who search for SEO experts and consultants, and they simply want to rank.
So going deep in the weeds, are most of your clients agencies? Are they individuals? Are they the companies that realize, hey, we want to acquire some domains? Maybe a company that big, like you gave the example of, a company earning tens of millions per year. So they have a marketing team. They have a couple of SEO experts for sure. But yeah, what are your clients like overall at Otis?
5 years ago, 90% of our clients were folks that wanted to get a kickstart with their niche site. So they were launching a content site, they plan to make money with affiliate marketing, or display ads, and they simply want to win some time. That's it. That's the whole purpose of buying an H domain. So they wouldn't even care about the name. Then in time, we educated them on the concept of, look, you need to pay more to get a great name, because if you start ranking and make $10,000 a month, and at some point your name is a trademark or you get into legal trouble, that's effort, gone in vain. So pay attention. This is why a good name matters. So we educated that crowd, but in time, it shrinked. And right now, the affiliate marketing content websites is no more than 40-50%. The other 50% are agencies and real businesses that either agencies that represent real clients, brick and mortar businesses, or brick and mortar businesses themselves. So we have CEOs of medium and large corporations reaching out and saying, look, I'm interested in this. I've had this work. Last year, we had someone paid $80,000 with his Amex credit card to buy, a couple dozen of really powerful H domain, and said, I'm interested in 301. Like, they did it wrong, but it just proves that it's a concept that's evolving, and their awareness of the importance of it also grows. So our customers are now from the both worlds, I'd say. Those who are SEOs by heart, and they do this, from early in the morning, and those who are real brick and mortar businesses, and their only question is, how do I get more market? How do I get more customers? How do I get more leads? And they obviously can use H domain to their advantage, and this is why they reach out. So it actually makes me happy in a way, because back in the days we said, like, how do we grow the business? How do we reach out more customers? How do we educate, a dentist into getting an H domain of his former competitor and redirected it just to get those leads, right? So we ended up, in a way or another, here where even a dentist is somehow SEO savvy in a way.
That's cool. That's really cool. And we have a friend of the show and friend of yours, Alex, Carl Broadbent, says that he's had great
Cheers,
success
Carl.
with Otis domains. Thanks for popping in, buddy. And, one observation that I have, so I have, this show, the podcast, and I won't get too philosophical, but I got to pull it up a level here. But basically, I wanted to make this like a really sustainable thing. So I do minimal editing. I follow my interests. I like talking to people. So usually I can, find folks to talk to, like you, Alex, or, the other hundreds of guests that I've had on. And it really started as, just niche sites, affiliate marketing, kind of, a really small idea. And things kind of expanded. And as we've been in the industry for, decade plus for you, then you end up with people that are stair stepping up along with you. So a few of us started off with a couple little blogs. We were messing around. A lot of people drop off, right? The survival rate is quite low. It takes a lot of work to just keep showing up when you get beat up by Google or whomever. And it's interesting because now there are people that came up with me that have huge agencies, or they're a CEO of a 7-figure company. So they are like, they came up and they bought domains from you when they were starting out, and now they're doing something much bigger, or they're serving, hundreds of clients, and they're like, hey, you get these age domains, or here's some other marketing ideas. So they're graduating up. So it's kind of cool. Like you said, the theme of today is like, the industry has grown. SEOs are more educated. The companies that need SEO work, they're more educated. So as SEO agency owners, maybe you don't have to go and make your case and explain what's Google, what's a keyword. Like, you could come in and say, all right, your competitors are doing this. Let's work on it, and here's some good strategies. So no question there, but just an observation of like, everyone is growing, the industry is growing, things are more mature. And, that's why companies like Otis or like this podcast, a lot of listeners are beginners, but there's a small subset of like super advanced listeners that they stick around for the more basic topics. But like when we get into the philosophical stuff like today, or where the market's heading, they're super interested. So it's been fun for me. Yeah, no question
Yeah.
there. Any thoughts though?
Yeah, look, I won't name any names, but I've heard that you have hedge funds and pension funds who invest into niche sites and buy niche sites from what's available on the market to diversify, their investment portfolio. And that obviously speaks of the level. And you have Dom Wells from Onfolio who went public with his company, and they do niche websites basically. And they raised capital to buy different businesses that basically are satellites of the niche site business, like link building agencies and content agencies, and they went public. They're a publicly traded company, and SEM Rush is a publicly traded company, and Ahrefs, last I checked, someone speculated that they make close to $100 million a year. So obviously the industry had progressed a ton, and I do remember the day when Google banned the link column domain.com command, which you could use to check what links and how many links a domain has. So back in the days, you could actually do link column Doug.Show, and it will show you all the incoming links to Doug.Show. Then at some point they decided, well, that's data that's kept on our service and it costs us millions of dollars, to keep it. Why would we give it away for free? And all of a sudden, the Mars, the Majestic, the SEM Rush, the Ahrefs, guys figured it out. They started full-fledged data scraping and web scraping industries, and they built this, millions of dollars companies. So obviously the industry, has shifted tremendously.
Very cool. Yeah. And, Dom is a perfect example because I think he and I got started around the same time, and we guest posted on each other's sites and, all the stuff, we collaborated. We never really treated each other as competitors. It was just like, hey, if we could help each other out, which is great. Like from a,
Yeah.
One of the points we made before from a networking standpoint, like treat everybody as, a peer or a potential partner, not competitors, because, if they're cool, you'll go a lot further together than you will just individually. So, okay. Well, we're wrapping up here. I know it's towards the end of your day. Carl also mentions, I think redirecting domains to your current site to improve link juice and authority is underused, 100%. So as we're wrapping down here, I'll give a plug. I know you guys over at Otis are doing live streams. So you did one earlier today, and there's a link in the, I think in the title and the description, people can find your channel out there. And I will actually be on in a couple weeks. So folks, I don't know the exact date. So head over to the Otis channel, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out on that. And Alex, I'll turn it over to you so you could let people, number one, let people know where they can find you. And then what is coming up next for Otis, say in the next 6 or 12 months or something like that? Just what are your future goals with Otis? Any big projects or things like that going on?
Well, you can reach out to me directly. My, nickname, I'd say, or let's say the social, you can search for Alex Odys Global anywhere, starting with Google, and you will find me. My Twitter, my LinkedIn, that's the term that I use, Alex, and it's close to Odys Global. And then you can search for Odys Global. You can reach out. You can request access to Odys Global by mentioning this live stream or podcast or Doug's show, and we will fast forward your application. It will get approved faster. Obviously, make sure that you write why you want to join. We don't want to deal with just everyone. We want to deal with committed people. We want to build a community. That's important. Obviously, yeah, we'll have Doug on the Odys Talks show. That's a live stream. Actually, that's not the podcast itself. That's a live stream. Doug was already on the podcast, and it's a great podcast. You can check it out on our YouTube channel. You can also invite Carl Broadbent. By the way, Carl is the founder of Affiliate Gathering, which is a pretty known conference in UK, affiliate conference. And I think Vladimir will invite Carl on our live stream as well. Carl is a very experienced content niche website builder, and he has an interesting story to share as well. So it's really cool that he connected and watching the show right now. Other than that, we have recently experienced a very big demand into listings, into listing third-party domains. So we've been always struggling to keep up with the demand, meaning there is not enough quality inventory to keep up with the demand. So the auctions are limited. There is so much inventory that gets listed every single day. And we realized that there is so much inventory into if you end up tapping into everyone's account. So I bet you have some domains that might be available for sale and they meet our quality standards. So when we realized that, we came up with the Sell Your Domain initiative, which you can learn more by going to sell.odys.global, and you can list your domain for sale. If they get approved, they will get listed in the marketplace. You can monetize your unused inventory. But beyond domains, lots of people sit on startup websites, which I believe it's a common problem. You launch too many sites and you cannot manage them all. And at some point, you want to focus on just a couple of them. And we've started getting listings on websites built on really cool names. In some cases, they have lots of value behind them. And in some cases, it's either really high quality content or even rankings. Like you end up, you can see, right now, if you go to Otis and you click on the type and you click websites, you're going to see around, I believe, 20, 30, or even 50 websites that first of all, are indexed. So site age beyond domain age is also a ranking factor. So they're indexed, they have an index for quite a bit. And some of them have rankings. So you'd rather build a website on a website that already have a couple thousand, is already ranking for a couple thousand keywords. So we realized that there is demand for websites that are ranking, getting traffic, not necessarily making money. So that startup dimension of a website is really important, and the demand has been really big lately. We're getting a lot of submissions from third parties, mostly website investors and domain investors that have some sort of websites. And we thought, well, we're going to exploit this for sure, because we've seen that as an untapped market. Within the market, you have, the big guys, Empire Flippers and Motion Invest and, Domain Magnate and all these guys that buy and sell businesses, but they buy and sell profitable or money-making businesses. Whereas the startup website niche, you don't have a market for that. So we thought, why not diversify and why not build further on that, especially since we became so good at doing due diligence for the domains and websites. Like, why not offer our members a way to build not only on a great age domain, but on a website that actually has some content and rankings and bypass the sandbox and is already getting some traffic. So it's much easier to scale.
So we do have to end it, but I'll just ask one more question. If someone has a domain, like I actually have a domain where it was a great website for a little while, but another one did much better. So I wisely focused on the good one and I just let this other one kind of wither. So it still has ranking. It still earns whatever, $30 a month or something. But a lot of the content, hundreds of articles, are a little out of date, a lot of good backlinks. I put a lot of time in the past. So if I am a member, if I've already been accepted into Otis, how does one initiate the due diligence to get that domain and site listed on Otis?
Right now, it's very, very, very simple. You just click on the sell link in the top nav menu once logged into the members area, or if you're not logged in, go to sell.odys.global and just submit your URL, whatever. It can be a premium name, an age domain, or a website, and we will review it accordingly. Right now, it's fully hands off. Maybe in time we'll request some more information, but right now we have our SOPs and due diligence, and we will simply get back to you in 24 hours and say, you've been rejected because XYZ, or we've been accepted and we'll list you as an age domain, premium domain, or a website because it meets the due diligence criteria.
Great. Awesome. That's fantastic. So I think we could finish up here. Thanks, Alex. It's always a blast to catch up with you. And like I said, everyone can check out your, the Otis YouTube channel, and there's links in the description here for other stuff as well. So thanks, Alex.
Cheers, Doug. Thanks for having me. Awesome show.